Tonight, emergency on Ben Nevis. One man is dead and 23 others are helped to safety on Scotland's highest peak. Mountain rescue teams warn people to stay at home unless they're prepared for the conditions.
Yesterday was exceptional. Normally you could have multiple numbers, but normally it would be a single party, but this time there was a number of parties that required assistance all at the same time.
Also making the headlines, life on the edge of a war zone. A special report from Poland as families fleeing conflict in Ukraine find safety and hope.
We are happy we are here, we are happy we are alive, but we hope to come back home soon.
In sport, my players aren't arrogant. Van Bronckhorst hits back ahead of Rangers' tie against Red Star Belgrade.
And a very Glaswegian show of solidarity. Meet the family who knitted a new hat for Glasgow's most famous statue. I'm Gordon Cree in Edinburgh.
And I'm Kellyanne Woodland in Glasgow. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. The challenge of Scotland's highest mountain attracts climbers from far and wide. But once again, taking on that challenge has ended in tragedy. One man is dead and 2 others are in hospital after 23 people were rescued from Ben Nevis.
It means 6 people have now lost their lives on our hills since the start of this month, with dozens more injured. Sasha Spratt is in Fort William for us now. Sasha, what are the conditions like?
Well, here this afternoon there's been some really squally weather conditions, and that is not like it was yesterday. In the morning, the day started with dry, bright, sunny skies, but things changed, and they changed quickly by mid-afternoon. The alarm was raised here around 2:15, and the rescue teams rushed to the aid of 24 people who had become stuck on their way down from the peak of Ben Nevis. Among them, a small group of soldiers who had been trying to help those struggling. 2 of them have been taken to hospital with minor injuries. Sadly, though, a 28-year-old man lost his life and he was pronounced dead at the scene. So difficult were the weather conditions here yesterday afternoon and into the evening that one of the 2 helicopters that rushed to aid rescue efforts had to turn away.
Yesterday was exceptional. Normally you could have multiple numbers, but normally it would be a single party, but this time there was a number of parties that required assistance all at the same time. For us, it's a busy time of the year. Normally from about mid-term holidays onwards, we'd certainly become a lot busier. Early part of the year we're a lot quieter, but the conditions, we've had pretty bad weather and all of a sudden it clears up, the mountains look attractive, people are staycationing, I suppose would be the way to say it, so a lot more people are coming up to Scotland to take a break and therefore taking the opportunity to go on the hills.
And yesterday's call out, of course, the latest serious incident on Scotland's hills since the start of the month.
Yes, since the 28th of February, 6 people have died on Scotland's mountains, of course, not just here, but across ranges across the country. And there's also a live search effort currently ongoing. A man from Kilmarnock is still missing. Neil Gillingham was last seen on Sunday afternoon at around 1:30 on Glencoe. Now, that search effort was paused here this afternoon because of the weather conditions, but rescue teams say they will continue as soon as it is safe to do so. Because of this string of incidents, mountain rescue teams have been posting online recent rescue efforts, pictures showing how difficult conditions are for them, but also for the climbers as well. And police are calling on everyone to think twice about heading up to the mountains before they try and enjoy Scotland's hills. Think twice about whether they have all the kit that they need, and also to think about whether they're prepared for the worst possible weather conditions, because things can change and they can change quickly with little notice.
OK, let's hope for some positive news about the missing man. But for now, Sasha at Lochaber Mountain Rescue, thank you.
Now, in Ukraine, there are fresh efforts to free civilians through new ceasefires after the UK Ministry of Defence said Russian forces had shelled humanitarian routes, breaking their own ceasefires for the last 3 days.
Here, the Prime Minister is promising the UK will take hundreds of thousands of refugees fleeing the war. And the First Minister is calling on NATO leaders not to rule out a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Our political editor, Colin Mackay, is in Edinburgh. Colin, what's going on there tonight?
Well, here in Granton, they're going to light up the old gasworks blue and yellow like the Ukrainian flag. Blue for the sky, yellow for the fields. Also in Edinburgh, the City Council are considering giving the Ukrainian president the freedom of the city. But Vladimir Zelensky is very busy himself fighting for the freedom of his own cities. And today, the people of Edinburgh took to the streets outside the Russian consulate to protest.
Peace, salam, shalom. We believe in peace.
From 1,500 miles away, it's not easy for protesters to make their voices heard above the bombs and gunfire in Ukraine. But these people, among them actors, writers and artists, are focusing mostly on putting pressure on political leaders here. Almost a fortnight into this conflict in Ukraine, there's no let-up in the Russian attacks on the cities there, but there's no let-up here in Edinburgh of the protesters against what Putin is doing.
Our friend Diana called her cousin and told him to break his legs so he didn't have to go and kill one of their Ukrainian family members. So that's, I think, why I'm here.
I'm so furious at what's happening, and it's really frustrating. You feel so helpless that there's nothing you can do, but we can do this. We can stand in solidarity with the people of Ukraine as their country is invaded.
The persistence of the Ukrainian people has inspired the world, I think. The fact that the Ukrainian people are resisting so strongly and will continue to resist until this ends and until Russia stops its war is reflected in the outrage that is being expressed by people across the world, and this is just another small example of that outrage.
They're outraged by what's going on in Ukraine, but they're also angry that more's not being done here to help the 2 million refugees fleeing war.
I think the UK should just open up its doors, simple as that. Waive the visas, it's what Europe's done.
Call particularly close to my heart is visas for refugees coming from Ukraine, because it's pitiable what we've done so far.
The calls from the streets echoed at Prime Minister's questions.
I don't think the Prime Minister understands the scale of the challenge or the urgency.
Mr. Speaker, I think everybody sympathises with the plight of refugees, and this government wants to do everything we can to welcome them, and that is indeed what we are doing. And the numbers are almost 1,000 as I speak to him today, and they will rise very sharply, Mr. Speaker. They are uncapped. We expect those numbers to rise to in the region of the hundreds of thousands.
The US has scuppered Poland's offer of MiG fighter jets to boost Ukraine's defences, although the UK is set to send more anti-tank missiles and is considering sending surface-to-air missiles. The First Minister says the West should not rule out imposing a no-fly zone over Ukraine.
I understand and I share the concerns about a direct military confrontation between Russia and NATO that a no-fly zone may lead to. So I understand that. Nobody wants to see an escalation of that nature. But on the other hand, Putin is not acting in any way rationally or defensively. And we have a situation right now where perhaps the only thing nuclear weapons are deterring is the ability to properly and directly help Ukraine.
And helping Ukraine is what most world leaders are focused on. And just in the last few hours, we're hearing of the Russian bombing of a children's hospital and a maternity hospital in Mariupol in the south of Ukraine, bombed in an air attack. That's what makes that call from the First Minister today about not ruling out a no-fly zone quite interesting. Another quite interesting point today from the Prime Minister there, talking about welcoming hundreds of thousands of refugees. That's a stark contrast to what we've seen. He's saying that Michael Gove will make a statement in the next few days about how people in the UK can offer a home to those fleeing the war.
OK, Colin, thank you. Meanwhile, in countries near Ukraine, tens of thousands of people are crossing borders seeking refuge every day. In Poland, people who are helping with the relief effort have told STV News they can't do it on their own and that much more support is needed as more and more people arrive.
Yesterday, our reporter Louise Hosey was at the border crossing. Today, she's been seeing the huge community effort and had exclusive access to a refugee shelter.
Normally a school sports centre, this is now a home for hundreds. Among them is Victoria and her 9-year-old son.
I left Borodyanka 3 days early because there are Russian troops now and they are killing people. A lot of houses are destroyed and some of my friends died. And there is humanitarian crisis also. People don't have water, food, there is no light, no internet and no mobile connection.
Around 170 refugees are currently sleeping here. Since the start of the conflict, more than 4,000 have used this facility. It's a place to rest and recuperate before planning their next step. Just a few miles along the road in Przemyśl, more than 35,000 people are arriving every day, more than half this city's population. The mayor here says he's proud of his people.
I just say to people, we need help. And after 1 hour, we have maybe 500 volunteers in this place. So it's very huge response for the people.
This former supermarket in the city is also hosting refugees. Alexandra started volunteering here last night.
I come here to help because for me as a mom it's heartbreaking that the women are here and without anything and they're leaving their homes and it's no words to say.
Gabriella is also among those helping. Having lived in Inverness for 10 years, she's now coordinating some of the aid effort from Scotland.
I'm trying to help organise some transport and from Scotland and England. I've got friends over there as well. I'm trying to do other stuff like doing shopping, bringing it here, organising some help like transport from Scotland of the goods from Scotland.
Thank you so much of a friend of mine. Places like this don't yet know how many more people will come through their doors. But what the people here do know is that they'll continue helping them for however long it takes.
We are happy we are here, we are happy we are alive, but we hope to come back home soon.
Louise Hosey, STV News.
Scotland's beleaguered exam body, the SQA, will be scrapped by 2024. The Education Secretary said the new organisation would improve outcomes and build trust in the system.
The change follows a difficult few years for the Qualifications Authority and for students, teachers and parents. Well, our reporter Alison McCallum is in Holyrood now. Alison, was today's news expected?
In many ways, yes, it was. We all knew that the Education Secretary wanted to replace the SQA, but today she set out how that was going to happen. Now, the changes come from recommendations by Professor Ken Muir, who spent 6 months looking at how to improve the exams body. So in summer 2024, the SQA will be replaced with another organisation, currently called Qualifications Scotland. This organisation will be looking at awarding and developing qualifications. Now, there's also going to be 2 more organisations set up as part of this review. One to replace Education Scotland, that will be looking at the curriculum and working with teachers, and there's going to be a new independent inspectorate.
A renewed system must reflect the culture and values we want to see embedded throughout. It must be a system that puts learners at the centre and provides excellent support for our teachers and practitioners. But it must also be a system where there is clear accountability. Democratic accountability, organisational accountability, but also accountability to the learners who have a right to expect the highest quality of learning and teaching while giving them the best chance of success.
Alison, how has the news been received?
Well, it has been a terrible few years for the SQA. First, looking at the exams fiasco in 2020, an algorithm downgraded more than 124,000 results, mainly affecting pupils in deprived areas. And then just this week, there was much anticipated revision support materials released, which teachers said were laughable and insulting. Now, looking at the plans for replacing the SQA, the Scottish Conservatives have said it's just a cosmetic change. They say the government has frittered away an opportunity to fix a broken system. Of course, for pupils and teachers and parents out there, the main focus right now is getting through exams.
Indeed. All right, thanks, Alison. More than 3 years after they were closed over water bacteria fears, 2 cancer wards have reopened at the Royal Hospital for Children in Glasgow. Young patients, staff and equipment were all transferred back earlier today following an extensive renovation.
At the new unit, a national radiotherapy service has been established, providing specialist treatment previously only available in England. Here's our chief reporter, Sharon Frew.
Stepping back onto the unit for the first time in 3 years, this was no ordinary moving day. A comprehensive plan was needed to ensure a smooth transition for 10 patients and their families.
It's been an incredibly difficult few years for staff, for patients, for families, and this is, the new beginning. It's the Schiehallion, it's back with us, and we look forward.
Wards 2A and 2B have been entirely refurbished following their closure in 2018 due to concerns over bacterial outbreaks, water contamination and the ventilation system. The rooms, their en-suites, parents' sleeping areas and kitchens have all been upgraded. Along with enhanced water testing, additional filters have been fitted to the taps.
If you open that door, you will see this gauge dropping quite quickly.
The whole ward has its own ventilation system, separate from the rest of the hospital, giving each bedroom a continuous flow of fresh air.
I would have absolute confidence in bringing my own family into this, the whole campus actually, but particularly in this ward we have got the most finest control of the environmental conditions in here, whether it be air, heating or water.
An inquiry is currently investigating the design and construction of Glasgow's flagship hospital campus after problems contributed to the deaths of 2 children. After taking evidence from patients' relatives, the focus will next move to the issue of ventilation. This is the plant room for the Children's Cancer Ward's new dedicated system. Air handling units the size of 2 double-decker buses were moved into an empty void. Its installation involved coring large holes through the floors above the wards.
Some of the issues we've had to deal with here are part of an ongoing legal issue we have with the construction team that built the hospitals. I guess what we can give assurance now is that we are satisfied, both within the board's team and independently with our advisors, that all the systems in here have gone through their appropriate due diligence.
When Karen Stirrett was told her son was to be admitted as an inpatient to the neighbouring adult hospital, she thought it would only be for a few weeks. 3 years on, Caleb is preparing for his first outpatient appointment on Ward 2B next week.
We showed him the video the other day and his words were, "Oh mum, it's a real ward, it's really a ward for us." So just hearing that from, your 6-year-old son, it's reassuring for us as a family. We know that this is a positive thing that's happening, but for us to actually focus on that, it's very challenging. This new ward and all the facilities that it has been a direct result of negative things that have happened to other families.
The renovation has made a new addition possible, the introduction of a new national radiotherapy service.
All of this is lead-lined and really, really thick concrete.
Behind the protective glass, an area for parents, allowing them to be close to their child.
The important thing for me is that I can now offer something to my patients that previously they would have to travel down south for. This is a total game changer.
Schiehallion was a name from the days of the former Children's Hospital at York Hill, used to illustrate the tough journey and peaks of cancer treatment. Those behind this renovation say this new environment will help scale those challenges. Sharon Frew, STV News.
A charity which helps pregnant women in need of extra support is aiming to raise £20,000 in 1 week. AMA Birth Companions works with people living alone in Glasgow. The funds raised will mean more people will be able to be trained to support parents. Susan Ripple reports.
Little Zara was born 2 years ago. It was the happiest day of her mum's life, but Yvonne was worried about being alone for the birth.
It's my first baby. I don't know how it was going to look like. Was I ever going to be able to handle it all by myself? Was I ever going to be the good mother that I really wanted to be to her? Just needed someone, to direct me if I am wrong.
And Yvonne got just that. She was given a birth companion from the charity AMA. They were with her throughout and offered postnatal support too. Vongai was also helped. She lost one of her twins.
They were the first people to come in, and they supported me. They had walked with me. They understood what was happening. So they were there. They came and they supported me, holding me and just helping me to just process things. You know, when you lose a baby, things happen so fast. You're so confused. I just didn't know what to do. But they were there to support me emotionally.
Now she's training to become a postnatal companion for other mothers. The charity is helping her with childcare while she takes part in the courses. And now Amma is hoping to raise £20,000 in a week for others to do the same.
It will enable clients and volunteers who face significant barriers to accessing training in birth work to be able to support them not only by paying for the tuition, but also supporting them with childcare, transport and travel, access to technology. A lot of these courses are online.
Ultimately helping little ones like Zara and Adrian get the best start in life. Susan Ripple, STV News, Glasgow.
All right, well, it's time for sport now, and here's Ronnie.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sport, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Yes, good evening, folks. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has rubbished suggestions his players have become arrogant since knocking Europa League favourites Borussia Dortmund out of the competition. The claims that were made by former Ibrox player Dragan Mladenovic, who's currently at Red Star Belgrade. It comes ahead of their last 16 tie at Ibrox tomorrow. As Giovanni Van Bronckhorst stepped out at training today, his mind was set on putting his players through their paces. But afterwards, his attention was on comments by former Rangers midfielder Dragan Mladenovic. The Serbian, who's now an academy director at Red Star Belgrade, says Van Bronckhorst's side have become arrogant since dumping Borussia Dortmund out the Europa League. Today, the Rangers boss hit back.
But why? Why are we arrogant? I don't see any of my players being arrogant. We are very. I think we are very humble at this moment. We enjoy being in Europe, but we respect every opponent we are facing, and I don't see anything of arrogance in my team.
Red Star Belgrade are the opponents tomorrow night in the first leg of the Europa League last 16. They trained in Serbia before travelling to Glasgow this evening. The match continues the heavy fixture schedule for Rangers. They'll now play 4 matches in 3 competitions in the next 10 days.
Yeah, we're preparing well. We're just in a busy schedule. We're just monitoring the physical fitness of the players. But we want to win every game that comes, and the next game is always for me the important game. So we're just focusing on tomorrow.
Aaron Ramsey will be in the squad for the match tomorrow but will not start, with Stephen Davis still ruled out through injury. Staying with football, and Dundee boss Mark McGee has tested positive for COVID and will miss the Premiership match against St Mirren tonight. Meanwhile, Saints boss Stephen Robinson is still looking for his first win as Buddy's boss. Bottom side Dundee are also set to be without a number of first-team players due to COVID. And weightlifter Alice Aitchison says it would mean everything to represent Scotland at the Commonwealth Games. Aitchison should find out later this month whether she's been selected for the Games in Birmingham.
It mean everything. It's been 3-4 years hard work, a lot of tears, and it would just be great to actually represent my own country. I've been away and represented GB at the under-23s, but it'd be nice to represent my home nation. As much as I'm all for Britain, I'm from Scotland, so it'd be nice to represent my home nation.
Fingers crossed for Alice Aitchison. Last bit of news from me tonight, it's rugby news. Scotland back row Rory Darge has signed a new and improved contract with the Glasgow Warriors. That's all your sport from me tonight, folks. We're live at Ibrox tomorrow for the big match in the Europa League. Bye for now.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sport, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Well, the weather has been dismal today. Here's Sean with the weather.
Watch out for a sudden temperature drop. TUI Blue Hotels sponsor STV Weather.
Now, if the rain is streaming down your window just now, that means that the weather front is right over the top of you. You've got the rain, and you've also got the colder air to the west of you, milder air to the east. And what we're going to find over the next 24 hours is the warmer, colder air weaving back and forward along with that rain. Tomorrow morning, a very mild start in the east, 12 degrees possible around the likes of Edinburgh, maybe even 16 in the southeast of England. Oh, that sounds nice. Hopefully not too long before that sort of stuff reaches us. But for the time being, the milder air tonight in southern and eastern parts, along with the cloudy outbreaks of rain, temperatures 6 or 7 degrees, Lanarkshire, Ayrshire. But as we head into Stirlingshire, Argyll and the Highlands, those temperatures here a little bit lower, so a little bit nippier in the northwest. Now, that little weather front, yes, it's going east just now, but tomorrow morning it comes back west. So for most of us, a cloudy, damp start to the day. But don't worry, into the afternoon, the cloud breaks up quite nicely. We'll see some good spells of sunshine, especially central and southern areas. So a very mild start to the day. Glencoe, perhaps up to 10, 11 degrees Celsius, into low 50s in Fahrenheit. But then we come back into single figures. Friday, not looking so great at this stage. There's going to be a lot of cloud and outbreaks of rain around, particularly across the South Highlands and also across South Lanarkshire, parts of Ayrshire. That's where the most persistent and heaviest rain will be, and there'll be strong winds around coastal parts. Then on Saturday, a quieter day, but then the potential for some very strong winds later on Sunday.
TUI Blue Hotels. Sponsor STV Weather.
And finally, you may have seen that Glasgow's famous Coneheed statue has a new hat in the colours of the Ukrainian flag.
The Duke of Wellington's statue in the city centre is famous, of course, for having a cone on its head, but the new blue and yellow crochet design has proved so popular it's gone viral on social media. Polly Bartlett's been to track down the family behind it.
Raising hopes and lifting spirits. This is the moment Glasgow's Duke of Wellington statue got its new hat. The video has now been seen by millions online.
For us, that's a good thing because we want people in Ukraine to see that Glasgow supports them.
Creating the cone was a full family affair.
So I went out and I found a dumped cone and brought it back. Emma made the design and I just crocheted it. The sunflower being a symbol of peace and I believe it's the Ukrainian flower. So we just stuck a bunch of sunflowers on the top of the hat.
The move has touched people across Scotland and across the world. So much so that Pauline is making mini cones to raise money for relief efforts.
One of the ones that stood out most was from a woman whose friends are currently in Ukraine hiding in a bomb shelter. They were really happy to see that, you know, other countries out there do care. It's just a simple cone, but I think the simple cone's got a really point message and I'm just glad that we put that out there.
It's a show of solidarity unique to Glasgow and one that's hard to top. Polly Bartlett, STV News.
So many ways to show solidarity.
Absolutely. Don't forget, Rona has Scotland tonight and the STV News at 6 is back tomorrow.
We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Good night.